The sound of alarms echoed through the pediatric ICU, each shrill beep a reminder that time was running out. Dr. Isabella "Izzy" Morales stood over her patient, 10-year-old Ana Rodriguez, her gloved hands moving with precision despite the chaos around her. Sweat trickled down her brow as she issued orders to the team. "Increase fluids! Prepare the defibrillator," she said sharply, her voice cutting through the tension. "Dr. Morales, we've done all we can," a junior doctor murmured hesitantly. The room was heavy with exhaustion and doubt, the kind that settles in after hours of battling the odds. Izzy's gaze never wavered from Anna's small, fragile body. "No," she said firmly, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "We're not giving up, not yet." Anna had been in critical condition for hours, her tiny heart barely holding on. Her rare illness had left her body weak and vulnerable, and the last 24 hours had been a series of emergencies, each more harrowing than the last. Dr. Nathan Burke, the head of pediatrics, had already suggested calling it. "There's no point in prolonging the inevitable," he had said earlier, his tone devoid of hope. But Izzy couldn't let go, not when she saw the quiet strength in Anna's face or the unwavering faith in her mother's eyes. Maria Rodriguez, a single parent who had already endured more hardship than most could imagine, had clung to Izzy as if she were the only lifeline left. "You're her only chance," Maria had whispered. "Please don't give up on her." Those words haunted Izzy as she worked tirelessly to save Anna. For Izzy, this wasn't just another case. It was personal. Years ago, she had lost her younger sister to a similar illness, a wound that had never fully healed. The guilt of not being able to save her had driven Izzy into medicine, pushing her to become one of the most compassionate yet relentless doctors in the hospital. Every life she saved felt like a step toward redemption, and every life she lost brought the old pain rushing back. Now, as she fought for Anna, the stakes felt higher than ever. Failure wasn't an option, not this time. The other doctors might see a hopeless case, but Izzy saw a little girl who loved to draw, who dreamed of being an artist one day. She saw a mother who refused to let go, who had spent sleepless nights praying for a miracle. "Clear!" Izzy shouted as she prepared to shock Anna's heart back into rhythm. The team stepped back, their faces a mix of hope and apprehension. The tension in the room was suffocating as the seconds stretched on. And then it happened, a faint beep from the heart monitor. Relief washed over Izzy as the steady rhythm of Anna's heartbeat filled the room. Against all odds, she had done it. But this was only the beginning. What would unfold in the coming days would leave the entire hospital stunned, and forever change how they saw Dr. Isabella Morales. The room buzzed with a strange mix of exhaustion and hope as Anna's heart found a rhythm again. Izzy leaned against the wall, her breath steadying, but her mind was already racing ahead. Saving Anna from cardiac arrest had been a small victory, but her battle was far from over. The real challenge lay in stabilizing her long term. Maria Rodriguez sat outside the ICU, gripping her rosary tightly. When Izzy emerged, Maria leaped to her feet, her eyes filled with questions. "She's alive," Izzy said, her tone measured but firm. "We're not out of the woods yet, but she's fighting." Maria collapsed into Izzy's arms, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on her." Izzy felt a pang of guilt alongside the relief. The truth was, she was defying hospital protocol. Dr. Nathan Burke, her superior, had already advised transitioning Anna to palliative care. "You're prolonging the inevitable," he had said. But Izzy refused to accept that. For her, Anna wasn't just another patient. She was a symbol of everything Izzy believed in as a doctor. The next morning, Izzy arrived early to check on Anna. The girl's small frame was surrounded by machines and tubes, her chest rising and falling with each assisted breath. Izzy reviewed her charts carefully, scribbling notes and planning the next steps. She knew they were racing against time, and she needed a miracle, or something close to it. Just as Izzy was leaving the room, Dr. Burke approached, his face stern. "We need to talk," he said, motioning for her to follow him. In his office, Burke's tone was sharp. "You're throwing resources at a case that has no viable outcome. Do you know how many patients need that ICU bed? Patients who actually have a chance?" Izzy's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice calm. "Anna has a chance. It's slim, but it's there. I've seen patients beat worse odds." Burke shook his head, clearly frustrated. You're letting your emotions cloud your judgment. This hospital operates on logic, not hope. Hope is why we became doctors, Izzy shot back, her voice rising. If I don't fight for her, who will? Burke's expression softened slightly, but his words remained firm. Just be careful, Morales. The board won't hesitate to step in if they think you're wasting resources. Izzy knew she couldn't do this alone. After the confrontation with Burke, she sought out nurse Clara Benson, her closest ally in the hospital. Clara, a veteran nurse with decades of experience, had seen it all, and she had a knack for keeping things running smoothly, even in the most chaotic situations. You're pushing uphill on this one, Izzy, Clara said when Izzy explained her plan to pursue an experimental treatment for Anna. Burke's already breathing down your neck. I don't care, Izzy replied. I'm not letting that little girl die without a fight. Will you help me? Clara gave a small smile. You know I've got your back. What do you need? Together, they began gathering resources. Izzy reached out to specialists in rare diseases, scoured medical journals for experimental treatments, and pulled every string she could to secure the necessary approvals. Clara worked behind the scenes, coordinating staff and quietly rallying support from the nurses, who admired Izzy's dedication. As Izzy worked tirelessly on Anna's case, memories of her sister, Sophia, resurfaced. Sophia had been only 9 years old when she was diagnosed with a rare neurological disorder. The doctors had told Izzy's family there was nothing they could do, and within months, Sophia had passed away. Izzy had been a teenager at the time, but the loss had left an indelible mark on her. One evening, after a long shift, Izzy found herself staring at a photo of Sophia on her desk. I couldn't save you, she whispered, but maybe I can save her. The next day, Maria found Izzy in the hallway. You look tired, doctor, Maria said, concern etched on her face. I'm fine, Izzy replied quickly, but Maria wasn't convinced. You've done more for my daughter than I could have ever hoped, Maria said. But you need to take care of yourself too. Izzy forced a smile. I will, I promise. After weeks of research and advocacy, Izzy finally secured approval for an experimental treatment, a gene therapy designed to address Anna's underlying condition. It was risky and unproven, but it was their best shot. Dr. Burke, still skeptical, agreed to the treatment only after intense lobbying from Izzy and the growing support of the nursing staff. This is on you, he warned her. If this goes south, don't expect me to cover for you. The treatment began, and the next few days were a roller coaster of hope and despair. At first, Anna's body reacted positively. Her vitals stabilized, and she even managed to open her eyes and smile weakly at Maria. But just when things seemed to be improving, Anna developed a high fever, a sign of a possible rejection to the therapy. Izzy stayed by Anna's bedside through the night, monitoring her condition and adjusting her treatment plan. Clara brought her coffee and a blanket, but Izzy refused to leave. She's strong, Izzy murmured to herself. She'll pull through. By the end of the week, Anna's fever broke, and her vitals began to stabilize again. The nurses cheered quietly as Izzy entered the ICU to check on her. Maria hugged Izzy tightly, tears streaming down her face. You're our angel, she whispered. I don't know how to thank you. Anna's progress sparked a ripple of hope throughout the hospital. Staff members who had once doubted Izzy now stopped her in the hallways to offer words of encouragement. Even Dr. Burke seemed less critical, though he remained cautious. Let's not celebrate just yet, he said. She's not out of the woods. Izzy nodded, but inside, she felt a renewed sense of determination. She had brought Anna this far, and she wasn't going to stop now. Just as things were looking up, Anna suffered a sudden and severe setback. Her blood pressure plummeted, and her oxygen levels dropped dangerously low. The ICU erupted into chaos as alarms blared and staff rushed to stabilize her. Izzy's heart pounded as she barked orders. Start compressions! Increase oxygen flow! She shouted, her voice cutting through the panic. Dr. Burke arrived moments later, his face grim. Morales, we need to call it, he said, his tone heavy. She's not responding. No! Izzy snapped, her hands trembling as she worked to revive Anna. She's not gone, not yet. Minutes felt like hours as the team fought to save Anna. Clara placed a reassuring hand on Izzy's shoulder. She's still with us, Clara said softly. Don't stop now." Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Anna's heart began to beat steadily again. The room fell silent, the tension giving way to relief. Izzy leaned against the wall, tears streaming down her face. "You did it," Clara whispered. "No," Izzy replied, looking at Anna. "She did." Over the next few days, Anna's condition improved steadily. Her body began responding to the treatment, and for the first time in weeks, her prognosis looked hopeful. Staff members marveled at her resilience, and word of her recovery spread throughout the hospital. Maria approached Izzy one morning, holding a crumpled piece of paper. "Anna wanted me to give this to you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Izzy unfolded the paper to reveal a drawing of herself standing beside Anna, both of them smiling under a bright rainbow. At the bottom, Anna had written, "My hero." Izzy's heart swelled. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe that she had truly made a difference. Anna's progress became the talk of the hospital. It wasn't just that she had survived the cardiac arrest or responded positively to the experimental treatment. It was the way her tiny frame seemed to defy all odds. Day by day, she grew stronger. Machines that once dictated her every breath and heartbeat were slowly turned off, one by one. Her recovery was nothing short of miraculous. For Izzy, seeing Anna sit up in bed for the first time felt like a triumph that outweighed every sleepless night, every argument with Dr. Burke, and every ounce of doubt she had wrestled with. Maria, ever by Anna's side, held Izzy's hand tightly, saying, "You didn't just save her, you brought her back to life." But the journey wasn't over. Anna would need months of physical therapy, ongoing care, and regular checkups to ensure the illness didn't return. The experimental treatment had worked, but it was still new territory. Izzy threw herself into creating a follow-up plan, collaborating with specialists to ensure Anna had the best shot at a full recovery. Word of Anna's case began to spread beyond the hospital. Medical journals requested interviews with Izzy, curious about the unprecedented success of the experimental treatment. Parents with children suffering from similar conditions began reaching out, desperate for the same miracle. Izzy found herself at the center of attention, a position she hadn't sought but couldn't avoid. Dr. Burke, still reserved in his praise, finally approached her one afternoon. "You proved me wrong," he said simply. "I didn't think she'd make it." Izzy gave him a small, tired smile. "Neither did I some days, but I couldn't walk away." He nodded, his expression softening. "What you did here, Morales, it's going to change lives, not just Anna's. You've set a new precedent." The acknowledgement felt like a small victory, but Izzy remained grounded. This wasn't about recognition or accolades, it was about Anna. And it was about proving that hope, combined with determination and skill, could achieve the impossible. Weeks later, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. Anna, still frail but brimming with determination, stood for the first time since her ordeal. The pediatric ward erupted into cheers as she took her first tentative steps, clutching tightly to a walker. Izzy watched from a distance, her chest tight with emotion. This was the culmination of everything she had fought for. Maria looked over and waved Izzy forward. "Come here," she said, tears in her eyes. When Izzy reached them, Anna grinned and said softly, "I told you I'd get better." Izzy knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're the bravest person I've ever met, Anna," she said. "Don't ever stop fighting." Anna's recovery began to influence the culture of the hospital. Staff who had once been skeptical of Izzy's relentless optimism started to see things differently. Nurses and doctors began rallying behind difficult cases, inspired by what had been accomplished with Anna. Dr. Burke called a staff meeting to discuss the hospital's approach to high-risk cases. "We've seen what's possible when we combine determination with innovation," he said, gesturing toward Izzy. "Moving forward, I want us to rethink what we consider impossible." Izzy's cheeks flushed as the room erupted into applause. She wasn't used to the spotlight, but in this moment, she allowed herself to feel the weight of what had been achieved. Not just for Anna, but for the countless other patients who might benefit from a renewed sense of hope. As Anna grew stronger, Izzy began to reflect on her own journey. For years, she had carried the guilt of her sister Sophia's death, using it as both a driving force and a heavy burden. But something about Anna's recovery felt healing. It was as if, by saving Anna, she had finally made peace with her past. One evening, Izzy found herself at her desk, staring at the photo of Sophia. She picked it up, tracing the edges of the frame with her fingers. "I hope I've made you proud," she whispered. For the first time in years, the ache in her chest felt lighter. To celebrate Anna's recovery, Maria organized a small gathering at the hospital. Patients, staff, and even members of the community came together to honor the girl who had become a symbol of resilience. Maria stood in front of the crowd, her voice shaky but strong. "There were days when I thought I'd lose her," she said, glancing at Anna, who sat nearby with a wide smile. But Dr. Morales refused to give up, even when everyone else told her it was hopeless. "She didn't just save my daughter's life, she saved our family." Izzy felt a lump rise in her throat as the crowd erupted into applause. It was a humbling moment, and she realized that this wasn't just about her or Anna. It was about the power of belief, the strength of community, and the importance of never giving up. Not long after the celebration, Izzy received a call from a prestigious medical board. They wanted her to lead a new initiative focused on experimental treatments for rare conditions. It was an opportunity to expand her work and help even more patients, but it would mean leaving the hospital she had called home. Izzy was torn. The hospital had been her sanctuary, the place where she had grown as a doctor and a person. But the chance to make a broader impact was too important to pass up. She shared the news with Clara during a late-night coffee break. "You're going to change the world, Izzy," Clara said, raising her mug in a toast. "Just don't forget where you started." "I won't," Izzy promised. On her last day at the hospital, Izzy visited Anna one final time. The girl was sitting up in bed, sketching a picture of a rainbow. "Hi, Dr. Morales," Anna said brightly. Izzy sat beside her, watching her draw. "That's beautiful," she said. Anna paused and looked up. "Are you leaving?" she asked softly. Izzy nodded, her heart heavy. "I am, but I'll always be rooting for you, no matter where I am." Anna smiled, handing Izzy the drawing. "This is for you," she said. Izzy took the drawing, her eyes welling with tears. "Thank you, Anna. This means more to me than you know." As Izzy walked out of the hospital for the last time, she felt a sense of closure. She had come here years ago as a young doctor, driven by guilt and ambition. Now, she was leaving as someone who had made a difference, not just in Anna's life, but in the lives of so many others. The lessons she had learned would stay with her forever. That hope was as powerful as any medicine, that courage meant fighting even when the odds were against you, and that every life was worth the effort. Izzy glanced back at the building one last time, a smile tugging at her lips. This wasn't an ending, it was a new beginning. Months later, Izzy received a letter from Maria. Inside was a photo of Anna, now healthy and beaming, holding a framed picture of the two of them. Beneath it was a simple note. "Thank you for giving me my life back." Izzy pinned the photo to the bulletin board in her new office, a reminder of why she had chosen this path. No matter where her journey took her, she would always carry Anna's story with her, a testament to the power of never giving up.